On December 26, 1996, a 6-year-old beauty pageant winner was found deceased in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. A ransom note had been left, but the case made no sense. The ransom note was written inside the house. The amount demanded was oddly specific, and the handwriting belonged to someone who had never left the property. 28 years later, this case remains one of the most controversial unsolved mysteries in American history. This is the JonBenét Ramsey case. December 25, 1996. Christmas Day in Boulder, Colorado. The Ramsey family, John, Patsy, Burke, and 6-year-old JonBenét, celebrated the holiday at their home. Everything seemed normal. By the next morning, their lives would change forever. At 5:52 a.m. on December 26th, Patsy Ramsey called 911. Her daughter was missing, and she'd found a ransom note on the staircase. The ransom note was strange from the beginning. It was written on paper from a notepad inside the Ramsey home, not brought from outside. It was unusually long, 2.5 pages. Most ransom notes are short and direct. This one rambled. The ransom demand? $118,000. A oddly specific number. Investigators would later discover this was almost exactly the amount of John Ramsey's recent work bonus. The note warned the family not to call police, not to tell anyone, or JonBenét would be harmed. But by the time police arrived, the note's threats didn't match reality, because JonBenét hadn't been taken anywhere. For hours, police searched the neighborhood, believing this was a kidnapping. Friends and family gathered at the Ramsey home, contaminating what would later be called a crime scene. At 1 p.m., nearly 8 hours after the 911 call, John Ramsey and a family friend searched the basement again. In a small storage room, John found his daughter. She had been there the entire time. JonBenét had passed away. The medical examiner determined she had suffered a head injury and had been strangled. The case was now a homicide, not a kidnapping. The Boulder Police Department faced immediate challenges. The crime scene had been compromised. Multiple people had walked through the house. Evidence had been disturbed, and the circumstances didn't fit any normal pattern. If this was a kidnapping, why was the ransom note written inside the house? Why was JonBenét never removed from the property? Why did the perpetrator spend time writing a 2.5-page note when time should have been critical? If this was a break-in, why was there no clear sign of forced entry? Why did the ransom amount match John's bonus? How did the intruder know the layout of this large home well enough to navigate to the basement? Over the years, investigators, journalists, and true crime enthusiasts have developed multiple theories, but none have been definitively proven. Some believe an intruder entered the home, perhaps someone who knew the family or had been inside before. The basement window showed possible signs of entry. Foreign DNA was found on JonBenét's clothing that didn't match any family member. Others point to inconsistencies in the family's statements and behavior. The ransom note's handwriting was analyzed extensively. Patsy Ramsey's handwriting couldn't be ruled out as a match, though it also couldn't be confirmed. The note contained phrases from movies the family had watched. The Boulder police initially focused their investigation on the family, particularly the parents. But in 2008, DNA testing using more advanced technology led prosecutors to officially clear the Ramsey family, stating the DNA evidence pointed toward an unknown intruder. Then there are theories involving JonBenét's older brother, who was 9 years old at the time. However, he was also cleared by prosecutors in 2008 and has denied any involvement. Regardless of which theory seems most likely, certain pieces of evidence don't align with any single explanation. The ransom note mentioned a small foreign faction, language that seems unusual for either a family member staging a kidnapping or an actual criminal organization. The note was practiced. An earlier draft was found in the notepad. Who takes time to practice a ransom note while committing such a serious crime? The window that showed possible break-in signs. Why weren't there more disturbances? The spiderweb across the window frame appeared intact. The DNA evidence that cleared the family. It was touch DNA, which can be transferred through manufacturing or handling of clothing. Does it definitively prove an intruder? The case became a media sensation. JonBenét's participation in child beauty pageants drew intense attention. Video footage of her performing in pageants was broadcast worldwide, sparking debates about whether these competitions put children at risk. The Ramsey family's behavior was scrutinized endlessly. They gave interviews. They hired lawyers and public relations specialists. Critics said this made them look guilty. Supporters said they were protecting themselves from false accusations. Theories spread in newspapers, on television, and later across the internet. Many were cruel. Some were defamatory. The family filed lawsuits and won settlements from media outlets that made false claims. In 2024, Netflix released a new documentary examining the case with updated information. Advances in DNA technology have given investigators new tools to analyze old evidence. The Boulder police still consider this an active cold case. They've tested evidence with modern genetic genealogy techniques, the same methods that solve cases like the Golden State Killer. But 28 years after that Christmas morning, no one has been charged. No arrests have been made. The question of what happened in the Ramsey home remains unanswered. Was it an intruder who knew the family's habits? A crime of opportunity by someone familiar with the neighborhood? Or something that happened within the home that was then covered up? Patsy Ramsey passed away in 2006, never seeing justice for her daughter. Jon Ramsey continues to advocate for further DNA testing and investigation. He believes new technology could finally identify the person responsible. The JonBenét Ramsey case represents one of the most analyzed and debated mysteries in modern American crime history. Despite thousands of hours of investigation, numerous suspects, and endless media coverage, the truth remains elusive. A 6-year-old child lost her life on Christmas night in 1996. Someone knows what happened. The question is whether we'll ever discover who. What do you think happened that night in Boulder? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments. And if you want more unsolved mysteries, subscribe to Dark Vault Stories. New cases every week.